Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. Sometimes it takes some baby steps that we can celebrate that can bring even a famous comedian closer to sound money adoption. And it's not to say that it's going to happen anytime soon, but I think it's a fascinating discovery to see, especially after a recent interview, that I believe that could lead this comedian closer to sound money than ever before. So let's explore. That is not to say that every person who understands economic policies or sound money or sound fiscal responsibility will make the leap towards being a gold and silver stacker. But I believe that people are much closer to that when they do understand the principles of money creation and what inflation is all about. And that's what this video is about, when an economist, an award-winning economist from the Johns Hopkins University and Cato Institute, Steve Hanke, was on Jon Stewart's program. And Jon Stewart essentially was very kind to have him on and was essentially educated fairly dramatically about inflation with some very strong words in terms of what the actual cause is. So Mr. Hanke went on to say, and he didn't mince words, according to this article that I'm going to be referencing from newsbusters.org. And if you enjoy videos like this, I hope you will consider pressing that like button. It does help the channel. So he said that inflation is always and everywhere caused by one thing: too much money, period. That's it. It's too much money that causes, too much money printed that causes inflation. That's the end of the story. It's really no more simple than that. And, the rebuttal from Jon Stewart, and again, this piece is actually not too kind to Jon Stewart, but I actually applaud Jon Stewart for having him on and being open-minded. Just to have him on his program to be open-minded, I think, was something else. And he was very polite to him. But he said that he has read studies that contradict that, but I don't know. Immediately recognizing that, he doesn't have all the answers in terms of economic policy. I mean, he's a comedian, but he's not a stupid man either. He is a smart individual. There's no question about that. And he's very intelligent, and that was well known when he was on Comedy Central. But he said, and Hanke rebutted and said, whatever you're reading is rubbish. And there was a little bit of a conversation before that. I will post a link to this story, and you can watch the video to see the exchange. It was a friendly exchange, but Mr. Hanke did not mince words, that's for sure. And he did begin to educate or school Mr. Stewart on inflation, and they got into a nuanced discussion about inflation. And it's kind of the view I take on inflation. Yes, there are other factors that can cause inflation, transitory inflation, and Stewart rightfully pointed that out. We know the supply chain issues, high fuel cost, the fundamentals of supply and demand can play a role. But typically, the free market works all that stuff out. So transitory inflation can and has been a thing in the past, and that there's very well that could have been just what we could go through during these times. But nonetheless, long-lasting inflation is rooted in a dramatic increase in the money supply, and that's essentially what had occurred. And so, if we look back, the money supply skyrocketed to over $21 trillion, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. And at least that's what I'm reading here. They actually put all the zeros there. I don't know if that's billion or trillion. There's so many zeros, I really can't tell. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, just 2 years earlier, in July of 2020, when Donald Trump was president, the money supply was roughly 18 trillion. So it is 21 trillion, meaning that the supply ballooned to over 16% in just 2 years. Hanke called out Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell for his sordid attempts to deflect responsibility for the crisis. And they had a very good discussion about bonds as well in that video clip, which you should definitely check out. But he says that they don't want the noose around their neck as being the culprits that created the mess we're in with inflation right now, that everyone is so mad about, Hanke said. That's why they're trying to convince you, John, and us as well, that the supply chains did it, that Putin did it, oil prices did it, wheat embargoes, you name it. And the fact is that those things have a negligible effect, although we do recognize in a nuanced discussion that there is some temporary effect for those. But again, I defer back to the free market. Free market capitalism is the answer to all of that. And so that's why, I believe in the free market more than I do government or a Federal Reserve trying to navigate monetary policy or fiscal policy or economic policy. Because what is this inflation? But it is a tax, a hidden tax on us all. And Jon Stewart, and you'll see in the interview, really did not rebut much after that. He seemed to be pretty open to it. And again, he's not an unread man. He's certainly more knowledgeable and more educated and intelligent than a lot of people give him credit for in the conservative circles. And so I think it's possible as a stepping stone to more sound money, because when you think about it, what has been the type of money that you cannot print, that is only derived from the labor and the efforts of mankind out of the ground? That is gold and silver, silver and gold. And those have been proven to be money for thousands of years. So if Mr. Stewart takes the next logical step, once he starts to do more research and understand how the money supply and the increase thereof is what has caused deep-rooted inflation, once he begins to understand that, he may begin to understand the concepts of sound money, because this, even though, as I've mentioned before, I do agree that it is money, it does have that store of value element to it, but it's a declining store of value. It's unsound because of that. We all have faith in dollars. We use them every day. No matter what your views on this, whether you think it's trash or what have you, we are confined in this as an exchange for goods and services, including sound money. But we're not prohibited, thank goodness, because we can protect our wealth with sound money that has proven itself over thousands of years. I don't think it would take a great leap for Mr. Stewart to understand that. And once he understands that, then I think that it will give a better insight to his paradigm shift of thinking, a shift in thought. And I think many of us in this community still struggle with that. I know I do. We oftentimes think of gold and silver in terms of price. And some people say, well, yeah, every time you mention their value and over the long course of time, you're just dismissing when the prices are lower because it's not proven to be that store of value that you claim it is over the past couple of years if it's gone down in price, especially after a large spike in price. But nonetheless, it really is about the long term. You look at a chart over the last 100 years, you will see what I'm talking about. Macro Trends has it. You adjust it for inflation. I've done videos on it. May even revisit those videos, because to hammer in that point, it's about long-term wealth preservation. How you buy it does matter as well, too. Using smart dollar cost averaging, I believe, is the best way. But even just regular old dollar cost averaging has proven itself as well. But why not get an edge on that, especially during times when you could potentially need to sell in an emergency? Might as well buy it as cheap as possible when you can on the dips. But nonetheless, Jon Stewart, being open-minded to it on his show, unless he was just being completely charitable to Mr. Hanke, I think he's starting to get it. And I think it's impressive to see some who have been hostile towards some of these principles in the past start to be open-minded about it, at the very least. If they're going to be open-minded about that, why not be open-minded about sound money as well too. And that's what gold and silver are. They are sound money. And so I'm hoping that, hey, you never know. Maybe Mr. Stewart will come by this video and check it out and let me know what your thoughts are. If anything, maybe he'll just enjoy the beauty of gold and silver and the different forms that they come in terms of rounds, metals, coins, bars, and the like. But nonetheless, I think it's a lesson for us all that sound money is where it's at. And has proven itself. Gold and silver, no matter what technology can come about, they will adapt with that technology or they will buck against it, especially when that technology fails. There's nothing like having an ounce of gold in your hand. You take one of these coins in your hand, you really feel the weight of it. Even within a capsule like this, you can really just feel the substance that is a gold coin and the beauty and the reflectivity of silver that has proven itself time and time again. There's just nothing that matches it. And by the way, silver as well too has a substance, it has a weight to it. It is not a light metal, and there's something to be said for that. These metals do not decay, they do not deteriorate. Silver does tarnish, but some people feel the tarnishing in silver is quite beautiful and attractive. Gold does not react. It is a metal that does not produce dividends, and as neither does silver, but it doesn't disappear either. It does what it has done for thousands of years. It acts as a wealth preservation device to save you from economic instability and hardship. That's what these metals are for. And so who knows, maybe Jon Stewart will do a deep dive into economic theory, especially Austrian economics. Maybe he'll look up some of the fundamentals of money. And maybe he'll see some of these videos. Maybe he'll see this video. Maybe he'll see some of your videos in the community if you are a content creator. The point is that gold is something, and silver is something that has shown to be a true store of wealth and value. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Hope you found this video insightful. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.